September 6, 1997, Westminster Abbey, London. 2.5 billion people watched Princess Diana's funeral on television, the largest audience in broadcast history. The world cried. World leaders attended. The British Empire mourned. But while everyone was watching the spectacle, nobody noticed the secrets, the hidden details, the coded messages, the silent protests, the family drama playing out in plain sight. Today, we're revealing 10 dark secrets from Princess Diana's funeral, things that were happening right in front of 2.5 billion people, but nobody saw. By the end of this video, you'll never look at that funeral the same way again. Let's begin. Secret 1. The royal family initially refused a public funeral. Here's what most people don't know. The royal family didn't want a public funeral for Princess Diana at all. When Diana died on August 31st, the Queen's initial response was to keep it private, small and quiet. A family-only affair at the Spencer estate. Why? Because Diana had been stripped of her HRH title. She was technically no longer royal in their eyes. She was just Diana, Princess of Wales. But the British public was furious. People were flooding Kensington Palace with flowers. The mourning was unprecedented. The palace realized they couldn't hide this. Tony Blair, the Prime Minister, essentially forced the royal family to give Diana a state funeral. The Queen had to be pressured into honoring the woman she'd cast out. That funeral wasn't the royal family's tribute to Diana. It was their forced compliance with public demand. Secret 2. Prince Charles cried, but not for the reason you think. During the funeral, cameras caught Prince Charles crying. The world saw it as grief for his ex-wife, the mother of his children. But people close to the family have said Charles wasn't crying out of love or loss. He was crying because he knew his reputation was destroyed. The public blamed him for Diana's death. His affair with Camilla was exposed. His sons were traumatized. His mother was being booed in the streets. Charles was crying for himself, for his shattered image, for the fact that the woman he'd tormented for 15 years had won, even in death. Diana's death made her a saint, and him a villain, and Charles knew it. Secret 3. Camilla watched from a secret location. Camilla Parker Bowles, the woman Diana blamed for destroying her marriage, did not attend the funeral publicly, but she watched, from a private room in St. James's Palace with a television. Prince Charles insisted she be given access to watch. Some reports say Charles visited Camilla immediately after the funeral ended. While the world mourned Diana, Charles made sure his mistress was comfortable and informed. Camilla got what she wanted. Diana was gone, and less than 8 years later, Camilla married Charles and eventually became Queen Consort. Diana was buried. Camilla 1. Secret 4. The Spencer family refused to let Diana be buried with the Windsors. The royal family wanted Princess Diana buried at Windsor Castle with other royals. The Spencer family said absolutely not. Diana's brother, Earl Spencer, refused to let the family who'd tormented his sister claim her in death. He insisted Diana be buried at the Spencer family estate, Althorpe, where she'd be protected from the royals forever. This wasn't just about burial location. This was the Spencer family saying, you didn't protect her in life, you don't get to claim her in death. Diana is buried on an island in the middle of a lake at Althorpe, surrounded by water, unreachable, safe from the family that destroyed her.
Secret 5. Earl Spencer's eulogy was a direct attack on the royal family. Earl Spencer gave a eulogy at Diana's funeral that sounded beautiful, until you understand what he was really saying. He said she needed no royal title to continue to generate her particular brand of magic. Translation: the royal family stripped her title and she was still more beloved than any of you. He said, I pledge that we, your blood family, will do all we can to continue the imaginative way in which he was steering these two exceptional young men. Translation: the royals failed William and Harry. We, the Spencers, will raise them properly now. The entire eulogy was a polite, eloquent fuck you to the Windsor family, delivered at Diana's funeral in Westminster Abbey in front of 2.5 billion people. The royal family sat there and took it because they couldn't respond.
Secret 6. The crowd applauded inside Westminster Abbey, unheard of. When Earl Spencer finished his eulogy, something unprecedented happened. The crowd outside Westminster Abbey started applauding, loudly, for minutes. And then, for the first time in royal funeral history, the applause spread inside the Abbey. The congregation started clapping. This never happens at royal funerals, ever. It broke every rule of royal protocol. The royal family sat in silence while 2,000 people applauded a speech that had just condemned them. It was a moment of public rebellion, the people supporting the Spencers against the Windsors, right there in Westminster Abbey. Secret 7. Prince Philip forced William and Harry to walk behind the coffin. Prince William and Prince Harry, 15 and 12 years old, walked behind their mother's coffin through the streets of London in front of millions of people. It looked like a touching tribute. It wasn't, it was forced. Prince William didn't want to do it. He begged not to. He said it was too much, too public, too painful. Prince Philip told him, "If you don't walk, you'll regret it for the rest of your life." It wasn't a suggestion, it was an order. Years later, both William and Harry have said that walk traumatized them. Harry said, "No child should be asked to do that, under any circumstances." But they were forced because the royal family needed the image. They needed the world to see the grieving princes, to restore their reputation. William and Harry were used as props. Secret 8. Diana's body wasn't in perfect condition. The closed casket had a reason. Princess Diana's casket remained closed throughout the entire funeral. The official reason given was to preserve her dignity. The real reason? The crash injuries were severe. Diana suffered massive internal injuries and head trauma. The embalmers in Paris did their best, but her body was not in a condition for an open casket. The royal family knew this. They made sure the casket stayed closed, not just for dignity, but because seeing Diana's injuries would have made the public even more angry about the circumstances of her death. An open casket would have shown the world what the paparazzi chase did to her. Secret 9. Elton John's Candle in the Wind was a last-minute addition. Candle in the Wind, 1997, became the defining moment of Diana's funeral. Elton John's emotional performance moved the world, but it almost didn't happen. The royal family initially rejected the idea. They thought it was too pop culture, too informal, not royal enough. Tony Blair and Diana's sisters fought to include it. They argued Diana would have loved it. Finally, the palace relented, but only if Elton John rewrote the lyrics specifically for Diana and performed it solo. No band. That performance, the one that made billions cry, was approved only after a fight with the royal family, who thought Elton John wasn't dignified enough for their precious ceremony. Secret 10. The royal family showed no emotion in public until forced. For 5 days after Diana's death, the royal family stayed at Balmoral Castle in Scotland and said nothing. No public statement, no flags at half-mast at Buckingham Palace, no acknowledgement of public grief. The British people were furious. They started calling the Queen cold, heartless, out of touch. Tony Blair essentially told the Queen, come back to London and show emotion or face a constitutional crisis. Finally, 5 days later, the Queen returned to London, gave a televised speech, and walked among the flowers at Kensington Palace. It was all damage control. Every tear at the funeral, every gesture of grief, every public display was calculated to save the monarchy's reputation. They didn't grieve Diana, they performed grief. September 6, 1997, Westminster Abbey. The world watched Princess Diana's funeral and saw a beautiful ceremony, a grieving family, a nation mourning, but underneath, secrets, control, calculation, family warfare, forced performances. The royal family didn't want a public funeral, they were forced into it. Charles cried for his reputation, not for Diana. Camilla watched from hiding. The Spencers fought to keep Diana away from the Windsors forever. Earl Spencer delivered a public condemnation, disguised as a eulogy. William and Harry were forced to walk behind the coffin against their will. The casket stayed closed to hide the truth.
Elton John almost wasn't allowed to perform, and every tear, every gesture, every moment of royal grief was performed for public consumption. 2.5 billion people watched, but nobody saw the truth. Diana's funeral wasn't just a memorial. It was a battlefield, the final chapter in Diana's war with the institution that tried to destroy her. And even in death, Diana won, because we're still talking about her 27 years later. We still love her. We still remember. The monarchy performed their grief and moved on, but the world's grief for Diana was real, and it still is. Which secret shocked you most? Let me know in the comments.